You might be thinking, should I have a rooster in my flock? Well, there's a simple answer to this question. Maybe. Luckily, Steve and Brian have lots of ideas and thoughts on this subject that they're going to share with us in just a moment. We'll get to our rooster talk here in a moment, but first we want to answer a very important question from a viewer. In a comment from our video about food your chickens shouldn't eat, we have this comment from Vonnie Bench, so thank you, Vonnie. And the question is, what about worms that have been eating avocados, which my worms love eating?
All right, so I'm not sure if she's talking about mealworms or earthworms, but it really doesn't matter in this situation. If you're feeding your worms avocados and raising those worms to feed to chickens, you probably shouldn't do that. And that's because the worms eating the avocado are going to build up the person that's in the avocado, which is the toxin that chickens should be avoiding, really.
Right, and so they're basically getting a concentrated dose of that. And that person poisoning can cause serious injury, respiratory illness, heart issues, and it can damage other tissues in the bird. So that's something that if you're going to be feeding it to your chickens, don't feed them avocados.
Yeah,
which was something I didn't know. That was awesome.
Yeah,
it was a great question. I had to do some
that.
research, and I learned something new myself. So
yeah,
thanks for the awesome question.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks a lot. Now let's move on to our rooster talk.
Okay.
So, why is having a rooster a big discussion point?
Well, there are lots of pros and cons, right, to keeping a rooster. Some people insist on having one. I'm going to have a rooster. Others, I'm never going to have a rooster, right? And then there's still others that, they're somewhere in the middle.
It's kind of like us.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes I'll have a rooster in my flock, sometimes I won't. And for some, there's really no option. They simply aren't allowed to have a rooster in their flock, so they're not going to have one.
So how about 50 roosters?
I've done that.
Yes, you have.
I've made that mistake once. Never again.
All right, so why would you not be allowed to keep a rooster?
Well, it really boils down to roosters crow. And they make a lot of noise. And a lot of people might not want to hear the sound of a rooster crowing. And for that reason, a lot of city ordinances, HOAs, other local governments have rules restricting keeping roosters. And if you live in one of those areas, no roosters, sorry.
Yeah. And even if you don't have an HOA or some sort of ordinance that forbids it, if you live with close neighbors, maintaining neighborly relations that are positive may prompt you to be like, I'm not going to have a rooster because
I just want to be a good neighbor.
Exactly.
And not bother anybody else.
So there are reasons why, that's going to be a no-go for some people.
Yeah.
So if you don't like your neighbor, that's a positive, right?
That's positive. Yep.
You go that route too.
That's where you go with the 50 roosters.
I'm just curious, how early in the morning does a rooster start crowing?
Well, sometimes I get up and leave for work at 3:30 in the morning, and there are mornings I hear him already starting to crow.
Yeah.
It's pitch black, by the way. It's not like the sun's peaking. It's 3:30.
Right.
Normally it's not until a little bit later on, but I have heard him because he'll hear me stirring, and it kind of wakes him up and gets him going. So.
And he's going to keep crowing throughout the day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, aside from the noise concerns or laws or covenants, are there any other reasons to say no to rooster?
Sure. Roosters, some of them can be a little bit on the aggressive side, right? That's kind of one of their roles is kind of protector and leader of the flock. They have the spurs. They have the temperament sometimes. It's a little bit more go get 'em. If you have small kids or other animals, that can be a problem. Also, if you only have a small flock, you only have 2 or 3 hens or maybe 4 hens, that's it depends upon the breed, but they'll say, how many hens per rooster. A lot of times that's up around 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
If you only have 2 or 3 hens, those hens can get quite a bit of work from that rooster, and it's rough on those hens. It stresses them out.
Yeah, and it can actually injure them too if it's too aggressive. And if you're keeping chickens specifically for eggs, there's really no need to have a rooster around. They're going to lay eggs whether you have a rooster or not. So that's not really an issue. But if you have one, and your only goal is eggs, well, now you're feeding a chicken that's not producing eggs, and it's taking up space in the coop that could be another hen that will produce eggs. So there's a lot of reasons to have or not have a rooster.
I'm pretty sure I've seen Steve getting chased by a rooster not too long ago.
A rooster named Randy?
Possibly. Whatever happened to Randy?
Randy, well, he passed away.
Oh, that's too bad.
We're just going to leave it at that. But yeah, he was particularly aggressive.
It was.
Steve in flip-flops running from a rooster. That's a great visual. I'll never forget it.
Nothing else, just flip-flops.
Well, I wasn't going to go there. All right. So plenty of reasons rooster isn't needed or maybe wanted. Why would you want one?
Well, the number one reason is I want fertile eggs, right?
Yep.
I want a self-sustaining flock. I want to be able to raise my own chicks and not have to go to the store and buy them or that kind of stuff. That's the number one reason to have a rooster.
Yeah, I mean, you can go out and just buy fertile eggs, whether from somebody locally or order them online, something like that. But that's an added expense above and beyond raising them yourselves or having your chickens raise them themselves. And you run the risk of, hey, I just ordered a dozen fertile eggs, put them in the incubator, but only 9 of them hatched. So, yeah.
And I think you've been using incubator quite a bit. I think you had a year there you were keeping people's flocks going or starting new flocks quite a bit. So
Yeah, there are a number of people in town that have flocks of chickens now that didn't before I got an incubator. Yeah.
all right. So that makes sense. No rooster, no chicks. Any other reasons you might want to keep a rooster?
Well, yeah, roosters, they're the leader of the flock. They do more than make hatching chicks a possibility. They maintain order in the flock. If you have a rooster, you're less likely to have hens that are aggressive towards one another and pecking order disputes. And because that rooster is the leader, it also makes introducing new birds into the flock a lot easier because he's the boss. He's going to make the decisions about the pecking order and who's good and who's bad and who's at the top and who's at the bottom.
Yeah, and of course, roosters are protectors as well, right? That's part of their role is they kind of defend that flock. They sound the alarm when they notice danger. They'll also sound the alarm when, hey, I found some food over here. Come get some of this. Kind of keeps the girls from wandering off. Like that'll happen to my house. They'll, I'll let them out during the day, and pretty soon you hear people over here and people over here, and you hear that rooster call, and his ladies will come running.
Yeah.
And that's one of their things that they do, and they kind of keep that flock together, so they're not out wandering by themselves. Easy
For safety
pickings.
reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy pickings for that coyote, to sneak up on.
Right.
If they're all together close, then that's less likely to happen, and he's the first one usually to go fight off, or I know you lost the rooster because he went to defend some of the hens against the dog.
Absolutely.
That's part of their role, and that's one of the advantages of keeping a rooster.
Yeah. And not only will they call the hens to kind of keep them gathered together for safety reasons, if they find a good food source, they'll call the hens over there. Roosters will typically allow the hens to eat first, and they'll find that food source, call them over there, and let them eat.
So in your relationships, you guys are nothing like roosters, right?
No.
I always eat first. if I find good treats, I hide them.
And in case you're wondering, I think both of our flocks, we have roosters currently. So we're not opposed to having a rooster at all. But at times, I've not had a rooster in the flock for a couple of years.
Yeah, I've never gone that long, but I have been without a rooster, and those were joyous months.
Quiet.
Much quieter. I'm not a big fan of the rooster crow, but he brings enough other benefits to the table that I put up with it. So
Right on.
Yeah. And would you guys agree roosters are kind of big showy birds, make your flock more interesting to look at?
I think so,
absolutely.
yeah. I mean, you can't beat the look of a rooster strutting around the yard among the flock. It's
big old hackle feathers and the tail feathers that stick up there.
They're usually more colorful and
So they're good looking birds.
Yeah.
All right. And there you have it. Lots of reasons not to have a rooster. Plenty of reasons to have a rooster. Kind of depends on your situation, what you're wanting with your own flock and farm. Is a rooster right for you? Only you can tell us in the comments below. Or if you have a question, please leave them. And you know what?
What?
Everyone's situation is probably different, but everyone can benefit from subscribing to the Hobby Farm Guys.
Oh, yeah.
So please do if you haven't already, and give us a like if you enjoyed the video. And as always,
Keep on hobby farming.